The good and plenty of bad from Thanksgiving football in Week 13, and then we're making our picks for the rest of the Week 13 schedule. Right now, Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love and appreciate all the everydayers out there that hang out with us every stinking day. And I hope you all had a happy holiday and Thanksgiving. And appreciate the new listeners as well, jumping in and hanging out with us daily throughout the season and keep it going throughout the offseason. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. We got to start with the Bears, Matt. Because I'm not a Bears fan. I'm not invested in the Bears necessarily, but I woke up Friday morning and I'm still mad at what I saw with the Bears, not even giving themselves a chance to beat the best team in the NFL and at least kick a field goal. One of the worst game-ending managements I've ever seen. And I don't know if you put it on the coach, Matt Eberflus, if you put it on the quarterback, if you put it on the offensive coordinator, if you put it on all of them equally, but it's something that just cannot happen. And with the way the Bears have lost other games this year and blocked field goals and really just making their own lives much more difficult, I come away with this team thinking, man, something's got to change because it cannot happen in the NFL, what we saw Thursday.
Pretty sad, really. And I was just on Locked On NFL with Wig, and we were talking about the press conference after. He didn't think he did anything wrong. Like, oh, I'll do it again. Like, to me, that was even worse. Either you're lying to us or you don't recognize that you've made a mistake. And I'm sure everybody has some blame. And if it's a 10-year veteran quarterback, it probably doesn't happen that way. But the blame squarely falls on Eberflus. I mean, squarely. You walk into the locker room with 0 seconds on the clock and a timeout in your back pocket and don't get a field goal off, no matter what is on you. And my strong hunch is, do they practice situational football? Do they practice Hail Marys? Do they spend enough time on kick block team? Do they spend enough time on, end of game situations like this? I think the answer is probably no during practice.
And a team that hasn't won a lot of games, so maybe they haven't had as many of those opportunities to practice that and go through real life scenarios at end of games. But I don't think you need to practice knowing that if the clock hits 0 and you're behind, you lose the game. You know what I mean? Do you need to practice that? And the wasted timeout, not getting a play call in early enough right before that too. You should have 2 timeouts right there instead of 1, so you can call that extra timeout if you need it.
Take a shot in the end zone if you want, or you would have a lot more possibilities, right?
Cannot happen. And then you have and you do have to blame Caleb Williams on a few things, taking sacks, not getting the protections right, not getting the ball out. There were just so many things at the end of the game there. And it was almost like a pro wrestling script, right? Because you're down 16-0 at halftime and you're going to get blown out by the Lions. They're clearly the better football team. And then you come back.
You're fortunate 16-0 at halftime too, because it could have felt like it was 30-0.
And then, someone comes and hits him over the back of the head with a chair, and all of a sudden you're back in the game, right? Yeah. And then the big screw job at the very end, you don't even get an opportunity to try to pin them, and you don't even get the 1, 2, 3. The ref gets knocked out or whatever. It felt like it's like, no way this is really happening right now. And the Bears inventing ways to lose football games. And rookie quarterback doesn't help in these scenarios, but I agree with you 100%. It falls squarely on Matt Eberflus.
Yeah, and if you're not really a CEO type coach and you're a defensive minded head coach and your defense is getting worse and worse, like, what do we need you for again? I'm not sure what you bring to the table. Really attractive job for the next guy. I assume it'll become available. And I don't like to spin it this way, but your rookie quarterback has shown a lot more promise since the coordinator change, and some really good things happened in the second half of that game. And when the NFL draft rolls around, you might not be so angry you lost that game.
Yeah, and then you look at the end of it. Caleb Williams was 20 of 39. He threw 3 touchdown passes. They didn't fold at halftime, and they came back and fought their way back to lose 20-23. And they had the ball at the end with an opportunity to at least try to tie the game with a field goal, if not go down and score a touchdown and win the game. And so there is some positives to take away from it, but it was all undone by the negatives of how the game ended. And you're seeing it, the clock tick down, and call the stinking time. Do something.
Yelling at the TV, right? Yeah,
everybody was. I mean, it was pretty unbelievable. Looking at the rest of it, the Detroit Lions got out to that early start, and David Montgomery heavily involved there and pounding the rock, the two-headed monster at running back, and it was just kind of the script you drew up for the Detroit Lions. And I guess you still have to credit the Bears for not letting the Lions run away from them. And they did help out the Bears a little bit in the second half, did the Detroit Lions. Goff was solid again, 21 of 34, 221 passing yards, a couple touchdowns. Both quarterbacks are actually pretty good in this football game. I don't know if there's a lot to take away with this game. I don't know if you have any notes on it. Zadarius Smith, a sack and a half. And which is a big
2 games in a row. He's been awesome. Yeah.
Trade deadline. That's looking like a really smart move for that football team. But, I just can't think of anything but how that game ended.
Yeah. And you got to like where the Lions are at. I know it's Thanksgiving, you get all amped up, but anytime you win a Thursday game, boy, it feels good because you get to relax for a while, and they're gearing up for the stretch. They're the best team in the league. Great.
If we're talking about poor coaching jobs, I guess we can go to the New York Giants next. And big news around the NFL. The New York Giants officially eliminated. The first team eliminated from playoff contention this year. So that's that. I expect some coaching changes for both the Bears and the Giants at this point, just with the way the things have gone on. I don't know if you need to do it during Thanksgiving, but I think the writing's on the wall there with both of these situations and the way things have gone. Will GMs go along with them? I would tend to lean that way potentially for the Giants. I'm not sure about the Bears, but the Cowboys were able to hang on and defeat the New York Giants 27-20 on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, my takeaways here are much more Dallas oriented. I mean, they didn't have CeeDee Lamb at the end of that game. I know it's not a great opponent. I mean, I absolutely understand that, but it's also a standalone game that the whole nation is watching. And, the Giants aren't just going to roll over, and Dexter Lawrence is still out there, and Malik Neighbors, etc. But when you have Micah Parsons, your defense is better when you don't have Micah Parsons. And I think that's falling into place well. Overshown made some big plays. And more encouraging was they're running the ball, and they're not just relying on the stars, So I'm looking at this for like next year. Like everyone's mocking Jeanty, the Boise State running back, to Dallas in the top 10. Like, give me Dowdle in a 3rd round pick, and I'll draft a defensive lineman,
Yeah, I can see that going. That could be a very Jerry Jones Cowboys pick. I can absolutely see that. They do need to do something at that position. But with the, DeMarvion Overshown, fantastic name. Some of my, family were watching this game, and they're like, "Is that guy's name DeMarvion Overshown?" I was like, "Yeah, it is. It's a fantastic name, and he's turned into a real nice football player." And he made the big play. And you never see those defensive linemen or linebackers able to corral those tipped screen passes, and he was able to bring that in, tip it up kind of to himself, and score. That was a huge play in this game, and really the Giants had to score some garbage time points late to even keep this score close and make it look closer than it was with how the Cowboys finished the second and third quarters there. But yeah, this was
breaking news.
Here we go. Okay.
The Bears are firing Matt Eberflus.
Well, there you go. All right. Well,
happy Thanksgiving, Matt, but you got a long week, so I think that had to happen, but I don't know what it gets you.
I don't know what it gets you. I woke up this morning and, 9 a.m. Pacific time here, and I woke up and had some coffee, and I was like, well, before we record, I better check to see if Flus still has his job, to see if
That was the first thing you asked me before we hit
yeah.
record. Like, anyone get fired? I'm like,
I didn't
not
miss
yet.
anything, right? And so now it's official. It has happened now after we started this podcast. Matt Eberflus out. All right, so we can talk a little bit more about that next. We do have a lot to talk about in this show because I want to talk Packers, Dolphins as well, and we got to make the rest of the picks for Week 13 next. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, get a special offer. Our listeners can save on tickets. You can get phenomenal deals on last-minute tickets and seats for sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, theater events near you, all on Gametime. And Gametime has a new feature now called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Gametime Picks filters out all the fluff to showing you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets, especially if you're going to an NFL game and a 60,000 seat stadium. There are going to be a lot of tickets there to filter through. Gametime Picks will help you make the right pick and find the fantastic deals, all in prices, views from your seat, so many features and options on Gametime. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. Okay, so that's it. That's it. Holiday season.
Yeah.
The axe has come down on Matt Eberflus. He's no longer the head coach of the Chicago Bears. And I think if they kick and miss a field goal with 4 seconds left, he still has a job. And they still lose the game by the same score. The way that game ended, and that doesn't mean he was going to have his job at the end of the season and going into next season. But that was so catastrophic. I can't be surprised that even though it's Thanksgiving, that Matt Eberflus was fired by the Bears.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add to it. I kind of thought all along that he had no chance of returning. I do like that the offense has shown a lot more life with the coordinator change. And I think you're right. If they do get a field goal off and it ganks off the upright, he probably still has a job. And maybe if that's on a typical Sunday with 8 other games going at 1 o'clock, he still has a job. It's the only thing everyone's talking about today,
And for the Bears, the big thing I think of, and we can talk a lot more about this next week and into the offseason, I'm sure, with the Chicago Bears. And I laid this out earlier this season, and we talked about it before they even drafted Caleb Williams. The Bears are doing it again. Rookie quarterback, you draft him and you fire your head coach. He's going to be on his 3rd coordinator.
Yeah.
Right. In his 2nd season, he'll be on his 3rd coordinator. That's exactly how you ruin a young quarterback too. And it's organizational. And you have to time your development and young quarterbacks and drafting high young quarterbacks with a stable group that's going to be able to grow together. And the Bears, 3rd time in a row, just have not been able to do that. And that's even beyond who the quarterback is, beyond who the coach is that you're firing.
Yeah, again, I keep making the joke. Maybe it's not you, it's me when you go 50 years without having to be able to hit on a quarterback.
Yeah. Something a lot beyond Matt Eberflus, even though, after seeing that, there should be no surprise. And Eberflus kind of had to go. We'll get into the candidates, who that could be the next coach of Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. I do believe Ryan Poles is going to be safe there and have the opportunity with what he's started to build there roster-wise to pick another coach, but he gets one more shot at it, so he better pick the right coach this time and develop himself a quarterback, or we're going to be doing this dance again very soon in Chicago. Brian Daboll, safe as of now. I don't think he'll be back. Joe Shane, will he be back? I don't know. I hate to be doom and gloom, and we're trying to fire everybody. I'm not calling for people's jobs. I rarely do that. I did do that with Doug Peterson earlier this season. Can't believe that he's outlasted some of these other coaches. And in fact, a few weeks ago when the Bears were, flirting around 500, I would have bet my mortgage that Peterson gets fired before Matt Eberflus does too. And so the ways that things has gone, the way that things have gone with the Bears recently, obviously a big part of that. And then you go to the Miami Dolphins, is Mike McDaniel's safe? And this is one of those where it was like, when we made our picks, I was like, I could buy in a neutral site a lot of things in this game, but I was like, I just don't like the Miami Dolphins going to the Green Bay Packers with the way the Packers are playing right now. And this game never felt close. And even after the game, some players were like, yeah, we let the elements get to us. And it was like, yeah, okay. You haven't experienced this in what? 8-9 months, a cold football game, right? Since last January, probably for most of these players with the Miami Dolphins. And the night game, some snow coming down. It wasn't that crazy weather-wise, but I think it was enough to give the Packers, who are a really good football team, top 5 team maybe in the NFL right now, and an opportunity to go win that game fairly easily on Thursday and come away with a big win. Did the Packers, and Jordan Love looked really good in this game as well, on top of it's almost like the losing teams are the big stories here. Like they were worse than the winning teams were good.
Yeah, it does have some of that feeling. I got some positive vibes from the Cowboys for the first time in a while, but then they put a couple wins together. But
I mean, you play a good team, and we'll still see if that continues for the Cowboys. They were playing the first team to get eliminated this season too, and so I think that helps with the Cowboys, even though they did show some things, and they're different on defense with Michael Parsons. Clearly gives you an opportunity to feel better about what you're building going forward. I think if you're Dallas, if you're Miami, what are you building going forward?
Right, and I've had a big problem with their style of team building for quite a while, and I've made it very public. And Wig and I joke that too many Ferraris, not enough dump trucks. And that being said, if this game was played in Miami last night, we might have had the exact same result and not even be talking about the weather stuff, because the better team won. And frankly, their skill guys were better than your skill guys, Jacobs and Reed and Watson and those guys, and
that's
beat
crazy.
Your own game too,
That's crazy to say, because they've got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Achane, and so they've got talent on that side of the ball for you to say that.
Johnny Smith's emerged. So I don't think all's lost for Miami, but they've dug themselves quite a hole. They lost to a better team than them.
Tua looked not great.
No,
do you think that was elements related? Like and I've talked a lot about this with
the
pass
rush had something to do with it too.
Yeah, I talk a lot about this with the 49ers, and we'll get to that game. We'll have to go fast with these picks here. And I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. I don't even know what the updated line is this morning yet, but the Niners don't have a lot of players. If Brock Purdy plays, bad elements. This might be the Tua thing with Brock Purdy. It's like, why do you need a big, strong-armed quarterback, in December, in January, with the snow's coming down and bad weather, and you need to throw a cold football, you need to throw through wind, and you start to see that sometimes. And Brock Purdy, I've seen him in some rain games. The ball kind of comes out a little weird. And it's like, okay, if you have this base level of arm, and then all of a sudden the elements take you below the base level, does it start to look really bad? And does it hurt the functionality of your offense? And I think I saw a little bit of that from Tua last night. The ball didn't seem like it was coming out well. I think, pressure, there was a lot. It looked more difficult than it needed to be, and more difficult than it has recently for Tua last night. And I think for multiple reasons.
Arm strength matters. Physicality matters. There's a reason Russell Wilson was a 3rd-round pick way back when than a first. Things like that. Give me Josh Allen all day long, and especially if you're playing Buffalo. And this is a big man physical game, as much as the league would love it to be basketball on grass, and the Dolphins are the epitome of that. He's a really timing, rhythm-based passer, but he's not a drive the football through the wind and elements passer. And,
and this is the time of the season where we start to see some of those things.
Right.
And so very interesting. The Miami Dolphins kind of as, almost cartoonishly, warm weather team, we're fast. And then you go to Green Bay at night with snow, and they can't compete with the Packers. This game was not close. Good on the Packers, though. And Josh Jacobs has been phenomenal ad for them. They're playing defense. Jeff Hafley's got that defense playing a lot better than they have. They're playing good up front. Just high marks all around for the Packers in this game.
Yeah, and again, I really liked how Love played, and he is the physical guy that can handle the Green Bay elements no matter what. I don't think we talk about it enough. It is not that we've ignored it. It's just he is so gifted. He's one of the strongest armed, most gifted passers, or quarterbacks, period, in this whole league.
Yeah, that's why the Packers drafted him. They thought, man, late first round, he's got first round talents. There's some rough edges. There's some rawness to his game. Can we corral that? Can we work on that? And they gave him a few years to sit and learn, and seeing the fruition of that right now.
Yeah, good plan.
Next, let's make picks here. Let's make a whole bunch of picks for the rest of the Week 13 schedule, including Eagles at Ravens, which is the big highlight on Sunday next. Today's episode of Peacock Williamson is sponsored by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get ready to tackle the NFL action right now with FanDuel, because right now new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. And the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. Live NFL betting. How about some live NBA, live NHL action, as well as you wait between weekends for NFL football action? Props, draft props, those are coming as well, and I love draft props. What's the next coach to get fired? If you had Eberflus, you might have got paid out there on FanDuel. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything and so much more. Stats and play-by-play and stuff you're looking for in the middle of games. You can find that in the very same place you place your bets at FanDuel.com. So you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet right now at FanDuel.com. Download the app and never waste a hunch, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, here we go. Let's make some picks fast and furious for week 13 on the NFL schedule. And I want to start with what looks like the best game on Sunday, which is the afternoon slate. Eagles at Ravens, and it is the home Ravens that are favored by 3 points at 8-4 over the 9-2 Eagles. The Eagles coming in real hot right now, Matt, and that's basically Vegas telling us, I don't know, these teams are evenly matched in a neutral site. It would be a pick'em game. Since the Ravens at home, they're getting 3.
I'm taking the Eagles, and I think they're going to win the game. I am not ignoring at all the Lamar versus NFC thing, though. I believe that to be very, very real. But I think the Eagles on both lines of scrimmage can travel in a tough game like this and do well. And DeJean and Mitchell and Dean and the back seven guys, I think, can handle the skill guys reasonably well. How fun is this one, though? I mean, Barkley versus Henry in new uniforms. I mean, this is great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be awesome. And I'm forced to watch the 49ers game because I cover the 49ers. And so I'm glad that it's not the late afternoon game. So I can focus on this game before the night game with the Niners at the Buffalo Bills, which is not going to be a super fun game to watch. I have a feeling for 49ers fans. But yeah, whichever team was getting points, I was probably going to take in this game because, if I was getting a field goal for the Ravens at home against the Eagles, I just think it's going to be close. It's going to be a really good football game. Can't wait to watch it. I'm with you, though. I'm taking the Eagles and taking the points because right now I think they are the most well-rounded team. And we talked about how they might be the number 2 team in our power rankings this week.
Yes, I think they're a slightly better football team than Baltimore.
Well, let's go to that 49ers game because everybody's hurt for the Niners. They have not played well in Buffalo against Josh Allen in the past. In fact, I think that one of the big reasons the Niners traded up for Trey Lance is because they got blown out in 2020 by the Buffalo Bills, and Kyle Shanahan looked across the field and said, you know what, I kind of want one of those. And they tried to find one, and they didn't end up getting them, but they ended up with Brock Purdy instead, who's hurt. Brock Purdy might play. He's throwing a little bit at practice, but it was the same as last week. He's been limited. Bosa hasn't practiced this week. Trent Williams not practicing. We just found out that Fred Warner's got a broken bone. He's been playing on his ankle since like week 3 or 4, which is why he went from being the best defensive player in the NFL to start the season to just not playing as well recently. He might need to sit down just to let that thing heal. Things falling apart for the 49ers right now. Bills are better. Niners are undermanned. We saw what it looked like last week against the Packers for the Niners being undermanned. I expect more of the same. Buffalo at home in the snow is favored by 7. The weather and the elements potentially evening the playing field for the 49ers. Can they just run the ball with some of their running backs and keep this one close? That would be the only reason that I would not give up those 7 points, but I still do like the Bills, and I just can't bet on the 49ers right now. So I'm going to give up the 7 points to Buffalo. Weather is the reason this thing might be closer if all those guys don't play. And it's looking like most of them, and maybe Brock Purdy too, aren't going to play for the Niners.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it all, and it's just the worst place in the world to try to save your season. Buffalo off of bye, weather, all those things, Josh Allen. I'm gladly laying the points.
The Los Angeles Chargers are at the Atlanta Falcons. Big playoff implications here in this game. So this is a fun one on Sunday morning for me, afternoon for a lot of you folks on the East Coast. It is the 7-4 Chargers at the 6-5 Falcons, and the Chargers favored by 1 on the road.
I'm going to take the Chargers. I mean, that's a tough road trip, no doubt. This time of year, I'm always going to lean towards the more physical team. And I just feel like there's a little something missing with Atlanta, and their defense is really bad.
I'm with you. I like the Chargers in this one. A more complete team. The way they're playing football right now, even though they lost a tough one last week, I think they're going to be back. And I just like them more than the Falcons right now. So I'm going to give up that 1 point. How much more do you like the Steelers than the Cincinnati Bengals? Because the Bengals are favored by 3 points at home against the 8-3 Steelers, Matt.
I picked the Steelers to win 24-23 on the back of their defensive line that sort of got embarrassed against the Browns. I think that they'll be able to influence Burrow quite a bit. But, boy, I think this is going to be a tough game for Pittsburgh for sure. I mean, this is almost an elimination match for Bengals, but their defense is really poor.
Yeah, I felt like I might have been missing something in this one. I think this is easy for me.
The line seems too high.
Yeah, take the points and take the Steelers. But that's, our friends at FanDuel.
Steelers are 10-day rest,
Yeah, and our friends at FanDuel are really smart and looking at these lines that come from FanDuel.com, and all the lines we reference do they know something I don't know? I'm not seeing it, so I'm going to the Steelers.
Me too.
The Cardinals at the Vikings, another good one with playoff implications. More seeding for the Vikings side, who at 9-2, it seems crazy that they have to really fight and claw just to stay, within. And man, if the Bears could have knocked off the Lions, the Vikings could be sitting there thinking, man, we might be able to go win this thing in the West. But the Packers won, the Lions won, and the Cardinals are fighting for their playoff lives as well at 6-5. Minnesota favored by 3.5.
Yeah, I feel like the Vikings still are a team that gets disrespected in Vegas time and time again. I mean, they win in a lot of different manners. In their building's going to be brutal. I'm still not on board with the Cardinals defense to shut down all these weapons. Give me the Vikes.
I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I'm going to take the points with the Cardinals to keep this one close. They did bring Daniel Jones in. The Vikings did, by the way, since we've last spoke, Matt, to back up the Mullins and the Darnolds for now, and then I'm sure he'll be the number 2. But is Darnold completely ready to go? He got banged up last week, so this is an interesting one for me. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I just got a hunch here.
Okay.
How about the Colts that are at the New England Patriots, and it's the Colts on the road favored by 2.5?
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch these young, talented quarterbacks that are, stage 1 of their development. But I think that this line's a little off too. I thought the Colts would be 4.5, 5-point favorites, something like that. I'm going to take the Colts here and lay the points.
Yeah, it's the Colts are a team that I think can play spoiler down the stretch. I've talked about that for the last couple of weeks. Last week wasn't a good matchup for them and a good game for them, obviously, against such a good football team. But this week against the opposite, which is one of the worst football teams in the league, I think the Colts are better, and I think they can win this one by more than the field goal. And I think the Patriots are going to lose a lot of games here the rest of the way. Give me the Colts.
Yeah, I think the Pats are pretty bad.
Interesting one here because I never know what to really expect from both of these teams, really, but especially the New York Jets. The sum of their parts is not as good as the whole or whatever, however you say it. But the Seahawks are favored by 0.5 point on the road at the Jets. Really like the direction the Seahawks defense is going, getting healthier and just playing a little bit better ball. They're playing better football than the Jets right now, but they're going on the road.
That's enough for me. I just think they're a much better team at the moment. I don't love a 1:00 road trip on that type of voyage across the country, but I think the Seattle defense has really put things together. I'll gladly. I thought they should be favored by a field goal.
Yep, I like the Seahawks in this one, and we'll see if the travel does them in. We'll see if they do the whole take a step forward, take a step back thing that they've done all year long. But the Jets have only been taking steps back, so I'll still go with the Seahawks there.
Yep.
Tennessee Titans at the Washington Commanders. Commanders favored by 5.5 at home. Can they bounce back? Are they going to still continue to fall down Cliff's cliff there in Washington?
I have my doubts, but I definitely think they're the better team than the Titans. But I don't think they beat them by 6. I think the Titans' D is quite good. Those defensive tackles kind of keep things moving and make them really hard to play against. Levis could throw 4 to the other team, but he might throw 3 picks or 3 touchdowns as well. I mean, total roller coaster, but I like the Titans plus the points.
Yeah, roller coaster game, betting on chaos. I'm going to take the 5.5 points as well with the Titans and potentially making the Commanders a little one-dimensional. We'll see what Cliff's got up his sleeve here. But I do think Washington is a better football team. 5.5, I don't know. Washington's stumbling right now, and the Titans competing still.
Yeah, they're not dead yet. I mean, well, they're dead, but they're not playing poorly.
The Houston Texans at 7-5 are at the 2-9 Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think the Jags and some of these other 2-win teams can start to be eliminated pretty soon from playoff contention and join the New York Giants with draft season. And it is the Houston Texans favored by 3.5 on the road.
I think Lawrence is playing. I can't bet on the Jags. I mean, they've been the worst team in the league recently for a long time, and their back 7 against Nico and these weapons really scares me.
I do like that, Bigsby's getting back healthy, and maybe you're getting Lawrence back, and that's good news for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And they're at home. And the Texans have been kind of flimsy and keeping teams closer than they need to be. Can the Jaguars shut down the Texans' run game, make them one-dimensional, potentially keep this close divisional matchup? Guys playing for jobs, baby. As much as I hate it, I remember last week I said, I'm not going to pick bad teams. I'm going to pick a bad team this week, and I'm going to take the 3.5 with the Jaguars.
You think they rebound? Okay.
At least you know what? Never mind. No. I'm not going to do it. It's not enough. 3.5's not enough.
So bad.
I like the home dogs and all, but I wish this was more like the 5.5, 6 points that we've seen in some of the other games. 7 points. Then give me the Jaguars. Give me the Texans. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I wanted to do it. I can't do it. Rams and Saints. Rams favored by 2.5 on the road at the 4-7 Saints, who have shown some more signs of life recently.
Yeah, Saints are also playing hard, kind of like Tennessee's conversation. I think the Rams win by that number, though, but just because when they protect Stafford, they score a lot of points. And I don't know if the Saints pass rush is enough to influence this game that way. And I do think the Rams' young defensive front can get the better of a not so great offensive line, too.
Can the Saints run the ball a little bit? Because that's where the Rams are susceptible. I like getting points at home here for the Saints, and I am gonna take the home dog here in this one. 2.5. Okay. Give me the Saints. So I'm just not a believer in the Rams. They're not quite complete yet.
Yeah, they're missing some stuff.
We'll talk about this in the offseason. Rams timeline of Stafford and like Kupp, and then what that rebuild is looking like. Does it line up potentially like for 1 year next year before they got to figure out a different quarterback situation too? That's an interesting one to monitor. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the 3-8 Carolina Panthers. Tampa favored by 5.5 on the road.
Carolina could absolutely keep this close, and they're playing a lot better, and I think we should be sort of encouraged with what we're seeing there, and I hope he's not on the hot seat. But Tampa can run the ball, and they've got players. I mean, they have more legit NFL players, and Baker's playing really, really well. I think they win this by a touchdown plus.
I'm with you on this one. Yeah, okay. I love the way the Tampa's playing right now, and they've showed me a lot this year. And the Panthers, even though they've won a couple of games, they're not good enough to compete with the Bucs, I think, right now. We'll see though. Bryce Young, let's keep building. Yeah, put another brick on top of it. Yeah,
momentum.
It'd be cool to see. And then the Monday nighter is the Cleveland Browns at the Denver Broncos. Broncos at home favored by 5.5.
I think it's a good line. I think Denver wins. They're good at both lines of scrimmage as well. But I also believe the Winston-led Browns are a mediocre team, not a garbage team. And it's a tough place to play. Winston could certainly throw a bunch of picks, but I think they'll keep that close.
Yeah, the Browns are a team where it's like, oh, hey, they had a nice game. And then the next one's like, oh, my God. Winston throws a bunch of picks, and they're terrible, and they get blown off the field. So I really don't know what to expect from the Browns. The Broncos have been pretty consistent. And, speaking of stacking bricks, Bo Nix has been stacking bricks. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. There's been a lot of fighting There's been a lot of fighting on the internet about Bo Nix this week. A lot of proud Broncos fans are really defending their guy and want everybody to know how good Bo Nix is playing right now and to forget the early season Bo Nix. So if we do that, then I do like the Denver Broncos here by 5.5.
Okay. We got a lot in a short amount of time there.
We did it. I wonder, we already made the pick for Friday's game. So just to remind the listeners out there, and this line has moved, and mostly I just want to get that extra point. It's 13.5 now that Kansas City's favored. And if I'm not mistaken, we both said, let's take the Raiders and the points in a divisional game.
Yeah.
And at least being able to stay within 2 touchdowns of the Chiefs that really, even though they're 10-1, haven't been blowing a lot of teams out.
Right. And we got a couple hours till kickoff when we're recording this at the moment, too. So that's just more of an indictment on the Chiefs are good, but they're not blowing people out. I don't have a lot of faith in the Raiders. Right?
It's not like I'm predicting an upset special here for the Raiders. No. That's not what we're talking about.
Just hang around,
Yeah. All right. That is the Week 13 schedule. We got coaches fired. We had some great games. We got some prime timers, and it's a really interesting part of the NFL season right now, and we'll be back on Monday to recap all of it right here. Peacock and Williamson. Happy holidays, everybody.